Get the budget workshop going. I've got a board meeting to be to at 12:30 or 2:30. So y'all got the budget, I believe May 1st. Nobody called me, had any questions during that time. Do y'all have any questions? I guess we can look at the payroll. Y'all got any questions about the payroll?
Starting with this one, or this one?
The payroll.
Payroll's gonna be the bigger one, John.
That's this one right here.
Yes.
Emily, how does the insurance for employees that have multiple paychecks, how is that figured? What are the different policies? I know there's single coverage, there's husband and wife, and there's families, or anything other than that?
There's smoker and non-smoker rates
Well,
within all of
yeah,
those.
I knew that. I mean, I'm just talking about the different levels. How far can that insurance, what would be the highest cost of that insurance? I mean, it's as low as something like $9,000 for the single individual to 14-ish for just the husband and wife, and I don't know if those are accurate. That's just off the top of my head.
Looks like I'm just gonna look at non-tobacco, just for purposes.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that difference there. I'm just talking about the three categories. I just didn't know if some of these figures were not accurate as far as that goes, or I just assume there's three different categories, one for single.
Looks like on the low end, the county side is 76.25.52. That's what we could be out for a single plan. However, we don't even encourage that plan. It's a terrible plan. The high side,
What about husband and wife, just the two?
The numbers in the budget are based on actual current costs.
I just.
plus, and I do have a little bit, like I think a 12% increase budgeted in to assume that January 1 rates increase or something like that on us. I do have a small buffer built in there. Employee spouse. Runs $12,348 a year.
And then the family plan, is that just a blanket family plan, whether you got one or 15 kids? It doesn't matter, so there's just three categories, not including the smoker, non-smoker?
Well, you still have 4 plans.
4 plans.
There's 4 options. You have a family plan, then you want to choose between Living Well CDHP, Living Well
Right,
PPO,
right.
Standard PPO, or Standard CDHP.
Right. But it's just individual, husband, wife, or spouse, employee spouse, or employee, wife, and children. Well, okay, for that. Okay. Got you.
On the low end of family policy ranges 15,638.
I saw that. There's, I guess, different things would change some of those numbers.
Yes.
Different
And that's not
circumstances.
something that we can control.
I know, I understand.
we can't hire, fire based on any of that.
Right.
But we also don't have any control within our own rates because we're part of Kentucky Employees Health Plan, so
Right.
we have to do what they do. And
just knew that-
we are not a healthy enough body to go out on our own. It's gonna cost probably $1 million more to go out on our own to try to do our own policy.
And that's why we're, along
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Kentucky Association of Counties, other counties are in the same boat we are.
And if there's a position that's currently not filled, we usually estimate on the high end,
Yeah,
assuming we
I do
assume
try
a
to.
family plan,
that's just good budgeting.
so as not to get,
No surprises.
yeah, so that you don't, well, it's gonna be this much.
mean,
if you
that's-
hire somebody that only needs
I
single.
mean, you could have easily a $10,000 fluctuation if somebody
Oh, sure.
were to leave and come into employment, and that's not anything anybody can control.
Right, I understand that. And I think you told me on page 8 that the employee, that was Maddie, the $5,000 employee that split that salary again, refresh my memory, that's split, that's half of hers?
Yes,
On
her,
page
we have $10,000 budgeted for that part-time employee that
Yeah,
Maddie
okay,
Holland
I got
is.
you. Yeah,
And then
I
it's
remember now. I'd asked
5,000
you.
in my,
Okay.
my office budget and 5,000 in judge's office budget.
It's the same as last year.
Yes, it is the same.
Yeah, you told me that, I just refreshed my memory. Nobody else gonna chime in, I was silent so y'all could chime in. On page 10, Lisa Carter retired, why would she be budgeted in there?
The position, even though her name changed, the position won't change. So, I mean, I can change that name.
Okay, I didn't really understand it that way. I thought when Jason went full-time, that was my understanding. That's not accurate.
Jason's been full-time.
I know, just recently, not long, but not like it's been forever, but.
Well, he just stopped his private practice.
Right, I understand that, I understand that. But he, bumped him up, and I thought that position wasn't gonna be there. That's
No, he
just-
wasn't, as far as my payroll knowledge, he's not been bumped up.
Who's not been bumped up?
He's reimbursed.
Yeah.
I know it's none of our money, and Jeff explained that, but he has been raised, his salary has been raised from what he was when he went on full-time. And
Yeah.
it was just my understanding that position wasn't gonna be eliminated to just help justify the kick up there, because you had, instead of having a part-time, you had a full-time person there.
Lisa was part-time too.
But instead of having two part-times, you now have a full-time.
Right.
So
And,
I
I
thought
mean,
those two
the
halves make
thing-
a whole, and got
And
a
that's
whole
true.
now.
Part of
and
it was
that-
because she was leaving, but Dennis is helping us out right now, temporarily till we get kind of things reorganized so that we can, go forward. But that's just where it is at the moment.
On the 2018 salary budgets, it says calculations reflect an increase of 2.10%. The new one is, 2019 is 1%. What's that about? I didn't understand it.
Didn't understand what? That it said at 1%?
2010 and 2.10% in 2018, now it's going to 1%.
Well, when we sat down and looked at the budget, we initially put in 2.10, and we backed it down to 1% to see what that would look like. We've since gone back through and looked at the budget, and we should be able to add the 2.10.
So it will
Well,
go
that
to
was a-
2,000, 2.10.
Yeah, 1% was just an initial, to see where we are with the budget. There are still some discussions that are gonna be taking place regarding the budget, this week, so there's gonna be some anticipated changes, but the 2.1, should be able to be applied.
But this right here is all based on 1%.
About $76,000 more if you put the 2.1.
And you made an assumption, Emily, on page, I assume on page 9, where we're talking about Jeff's salary, said 2016 rate pending court approval.
Yes.
Has that court approval ever been given? Well, I mean, we've had that discussion.
That should be his current rate now. I can double check that.
You know what I'm
But we
talking
have
about,
not,
where we,
there's not been a 2018 increase awarded.
okay. I assume we were gonna do that in January or February or March, and we haven't done that to this time, and it apparently, for the first time, the rules have been changed, and it always has, or the 3 years I've been here, it's included Jeff in that approval from this body to give them the increase, and apparently the commissioners, who are also county employees and elected officials, you know, the discussion that 4 of us had a couple of months ago, when is the appropriate time to clarify that, since the rules have changed, and
Well, I don't know what you,
Yeah, I don't know what you,
I don't know.
explain what you're,
well, when back in January, and you and Jeff and Johnny and I came to you and
Yes.
asked you, and Jeff
Yes.
was just there, and he came
Yes.
in and
Yes. What has happened in the past has been following the state awarding the cost of living allotment. That has been brought to the fiscal court for that approval to be passed on to the other elected officials that include commissioners, coroner, county attorney. I think that's all. And that has not happened this year.
Okay. Also, some of those, and we talked about that, and I got an opinion from CAECO and the legal team at CAECO as far as the commissioners are concerned. I know Jeff is a little different situation, and who besides the commissioners are part of that formula?
The county attorney and the coroner.
Okay, let me ask you another question. In the past 2 years or the past 3 years that I've been here, when the only people that have been approved for that this body has had to do or has acted on any time in the last 3 years is Jeff. Who are the rest of them you said, besides the commissioner?
Coroner.
Okay, well,
All part-time elected officials.
right. And, yeah, part-time elected officials, yeah, exactly. But apparently, we have never, ever, as long as I've been here, the commissioners had been apparently considered, there's different criteria now than there was before, have been considered employees. We are employees of this county.
Well, I don't know what you mean, a different criteria.
Well, when we approved the 2.1% for all county employees based on a state formula, which in 2015 it was .5733 or .533, then it was,
Yes.
the second year was .755.
You
and
did
then-
not get that because you had gotten one that you all elected to receive, that you all voted on to receive in January. The 2.1 that is wrapped up in payroll here, that is for the general employees, which you are an employee. However, you all historically have done raises at a different time, so
Well, we
you
didn't in
didn't.
15, 16, and 17.
Yes, we did.
No, we did not. The only ones we approved in the
Yeah,
last
you've
2
done them-
years
you have
is
approved
Jeff
them
and
in-
the coroner. We were
No.
grouped
Well,
in
you've
there.
been given some then.
Oh, we have been. Yes, we have been, exactly.
So are you saying
We-
you did
we
approve
weren't
it or
this
you
time.
didn't?
You had it in our check and you explained the situation. I don't know if you
Yes,
want to
yes.
explain what went on in that
I'm
conversation.
more concerned about a confusion on what happened in the past 3 years. You all vote to approve that schedule that lists coroner, county attorney, and commissioners on it. Those are approved. Those raises are given in January or February. They're effective January 1.
What I'm saying, that
historically.
hasn't happened in the past. It was just coroner and
No.
and county attorney.
No, it has
because
been
we are-
commissioner, coroner, and county attorney.
I know how it might read, but that never was done. When we go back, if you'll review the information back in those meetings, it was not that way.
What, it was not what
we-
way?
we-
You did not vote to
we-
give yourself a raise?
No, we voted.
So you've just taken it without approval?
We approved the county attorney and the coroner, but the commissioners were considered employees in those years apparently.
No, you weren't. You were on that schedule that was approved. You'd never got a raise in July. They were always effective January 1.
I
If you
disagree with-
had, you would have gotten 2 in 1 year, and
Let-
that's
let
not
me
the way
ask you,
we've done it.
Why did you put that in the paychecks, then take them out?
That was in January, like what I'm talking about.
You- you-
Yes.
you gave-
That was assumed that would happen. I was incorrect. When I saw that wasn't gonna happen, we took that back. So you're still at the January, what made you effective for January 1, 2017. You aren't included in this payroll, this raise here. This is what's given to the general employees. We talked about that day, that if you wanted to be considered an employee, then we should remove you from the January 1 approval because you weren't gonna give yourself 2 raises in 1 year.
Absolutely not.
So that's what, I think we're getting confused
we're
which
talking a
way.
different
It's
language
been
now than we
done
did
in
when we were
January,
behind those
not in
doors, but-
July, like we're discussing now for the other employees.
I still think there may be some confusion here. The form that she's talking about, the fiscal court has always voted on, when you're talking years past.
I can bring those up. No, it's, Excel.
That's fine, I understand what's going, I understand.
Well, I think it
Well-
might help clarify for the public.
Yes, I think we need to, because it's confusing.
It is confusing. I'm gonna email it to you.
Is that approved, when we approve this budget, or
What is what approved?
the 2.1%
For whom?
for the county attorney, the
That is
coroner?
not included in
No.
what you have in your hand.
Okay. Okay.
It does not include raises for commissioners, county attorney, or coroner. Okay. Can you turn this, if I send it to you, can you turn it? Do you have the capability?
What about on to page 11?
I think they're getting ready to put something up here for you to see.
It's going. Let me double check which one. If it's that, because there's two here, I want to make sure which one it is. It's this one. No, it's this one. There was a change. No, it was just a change in the calculation. It wasn't a change in the.
While we're waiting, I think it should be clarified that the fiscal year raises are only non-elected official employees.
Yes.
Everybody's an employee, but that raise that comes July 1 that you all will determine is only non-elected officials. There's never been a raise for an elected official on July 1.
That's the schedule that's approved, usually in February. It has not been submitted for approval in 2018. Yes. Yes.
So what's your question?
My question's been answered back a couple of months ago.
The non-constitutional elected officials were taken off. I had them taken off this form that you are referring to. Only the constitutional elected officials are on that form. And your pay was redacted. Which no one has come to me and asked me why. I'll be more than happy to explain it to you.
Let me ask you about this, commissioner's training incentive. Why was that, removed?
Do either one of y'all have a question regarding what we were just talking about? You don't, Bob? Do you, Johnny?
What?
Do you have a question with what Rick just brought up, what we showed?
Question about why?
That's, he's talking about something else.
Yeah, before we get to that, do you got a question about what Rick brought up? Nobody has a question. Okay. So what's your question, Johnny?
I want to know about the training incentive, why it was page one. Commissioners training incentive,
Yes. What about it?
why is it zeroed out for me and Rick?
Well, it kind of ties into the redacting of the pay for the non-constitutional elected officials. There is an administrative investigation regarding training incentives that the auditor is supposed to be getting back with me. Without going into too much detail, I was not going to give a raise to all the non-constitutional elected officials because of this investigation. So that explains why the non-constitutional elected officials were redacted, and there was no raise given. It's because of the administrative investigation on the training incentive by elected officials.
Jeff, would you like to expound on that?
At the investigation? I don't know anything about it. I know that, that the, I think, I was just going back through the terms. I think that the required raises that's set by the legislature for the full-time elected officials. I think we're both constitutional officers, but those full-time positions, the salaries are set and regulated at the state level. And that's the reason that automatic raise comes in. But I do not know about the investigation.
Nor do we, but as far as, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me personally, the 3 years I've been here, that program, as you said, is set up by the legislature. And if you receive the training credits and so forth to keep you up to date on the ever-changing laws, to internet with other elected officials, and so that you can make educated, informed decisions. And our treasurer, she doesn't qualify for the program under the way under the program set forth by the legislation, but I certainly think that and have no problem with her training fringe. It's the same as the judges and the commissioners and yours and the sheriffs and the clerks and all the elected officials. I think it's money well spent to educate on the changing laws and so we can make informed decisions. But as far as my training fringe, the record, you have to have 40 hours of training in order to receive that training fringe. And the 3 years that I've been here, I've had 106 one year, 96 one year, and I think 94 the other one. And this year I'll be right around 100 again. So I've had 2.5 times and as far as any, and this is just something that's political, strictly political. I have had 2.5 times the training hours that I'm required to personally. I'll say I can't speak for the other two commissioners, but
And, I mean, I agree. I think I qualify, but all I'm required to have is just to stay a member of the Bar Association. I've never claimed the hours, but I do agree that you all are required to receive a significant amount and that there's a rate of compensation.
40 hours.
For
right.
that, yes.
And
And
like
all
you said-
those hours aren't located here in Marshall County.
Right, and what now?
He doesn't get an incentive at all.
Oh, okay,
Right.
okay. I'm just talking about me personally. And the statement that was made earlier about an investigation, which is obviously strictly political. What could there be to about a commissioner that has gotten 2.5 times the required minimum for participate in a program set up to encourage elected officials to go and learn and so they
From my
can make
standpoint, I
informed.
think it's great.
I think it is too.
It is. It's a great program.
When we
And-
get our
and-
40 hours, that's, the state contacts Emily's office, I'm sure, and tells her that
Yes.
we're ready for the incentive.
Yep. I don't think anybody disagrees as an elected official that the training is good training. As I stated earlier, you asked about why it's zeroed out, is because of the administrative investigation. There's some discrepancies. And as far as me supporting that, until it's concluded, I'm not giving a penny.
A discrepancy in me and Doc's, or me and Doc and Bob's?
No, Bob doesn't participate.
Not at all. You never-
That's what I'm saying. If there are 40 hours of continuing education to meet that legislative requirement, and I don't know about the other commissioners, but as I said before, I've had 106 hours, 96 hours, and I believe 94 hours over the last 3 years, which is 2.5 times the required. It's hard to find many discrepancies or this, unless it's just, like I say, I understand what's going on, and it's strictly political.
It's a question, valid question. I think I've given you enough information once the investigation concludes, because DLG is the one that houses the training, so they're the one that will be doing the investigation. At this point, we're just gonna have to wait until we get. The auditors were contacted, that's doing our audit, and they were shown administrative documents.
Contacted by who?
Well, the audit's done for the fiscal court. We went into, the fiscal court approved Piercy and Gray to do our audit.
He said who contacted.
Well, everybody knows I'm the chief administrator, so I shared those documents with the auditor. It's that simple. Once they do their investigation, they'll tell us where we gotta go from here. But as far as budgeting dollars to something that looks like a discrepancy, well, we can go into detail if you want, but I don't know if council wants to do that.
I don't know, I mean, I don't know what the documents say. I haven't seen them
Yeah,
myself.
that's, I'm trying to be, as clear as I can be without going into the details.
I'd like to see some documentation on if I'm being investigated over something.
Well, I mean,
It's- Johnny, it's just strictly political, and
I knew that.
you're the same as myself. You attend every course that's available at the state park with no travel involved. I'm sure you as myself have received roughly 100 hours, and when the minimum is required is 40, so like I say, that's just strictly political. Sad, but political.
I'm firm on you go through the process, let the process take its place. Hope to find something out here fairly soon, but that's not in my hands. As the administrator, I'm the one that sits down with the auditors, give them the information. They're the ones that make the decision based off the information they've seen. So we'll just wait until that process is followed through. But as far as to answer your question, based off what I've seen, no, I will not put a penny in there.
Johnny and I also met with the auditors at an audit exit at my request, and Johnny came along, and as I have every year that I've been elected official, and we were written up for, I think, 13 initially. They found 13 deficiencies in in
Are you
this
talking about
year's-
this year?
In this year's audit, which when it goes through to DLG,
We-
they
we
take
haven't,
those
we
13
haven't had
deficiencies
an
and they
exit
whittle them down. We had
conference.
14 the year before and 13 that we were written up, but that we received in that audit exit. And when DLG gets it,
Let me-
that
let me-
that was
let me
whittled
be
down
clear.
to 8, and
We
I don't know
haven't-
what it was whittled down
We
to
haven't
this
had
time.
an audit exit.
Every year I've been elected official, I have sit in an audit exit.
You've sat in for one with Piercy and Gray for this audit.
The audit exit, yes, I did, separate from you and the treasurer.
We haven't
But
had one.
you mean for,
We-
Fiscal
we
year
sat right down there
16.
in the old courtroom and
you
with
mean-
a gentleman and a young lady, not young
yeah,
lady, but
but you mean for 15 and 16, correct? Because they haven't finished 16, 17
They haven't
yet.
finished
when
16,
they,
17.
we sat down, Johnny Bolin and I sat down and requested the last one that was done. with
That's 15,
Piercy.
16.
That's 15, 16.
Okay, for that year, okay, yes.
Yes.
We sat down, right,
We-
right, and the year
Correct.
before, and the year before, and the
Yeah.
year before that.
The,
okay? We're,
just to be clear, the Piercy and Gray auditors that have been here for the past several weeks have yet to do an exit interview.
Right, and that, but I'm talking about the year before when they were here, what they were doing, but I'm just talking about those deficiencies were there, okay, good. Got you.
Does that answer your questions? When the time comes, I don't have a problem sitting down with any one of you. You could have called me, contacted me, and I'd have shared the same information with you.
Wasn't made available till just then.
You've had the budget since May 1st.
Also got a text from the deputy judge executive to the effect that study the budget and come back and ask your questions and so forth.
I think when I gave you the budget, I said, if you have any questions, come see me.
I thought this was the forum where we're gonna present our questions or talk about it, so that's what I'm
Sure.
prepared to do.
Yes.
To receipts, I'm up to receipts, if anybody can get any more questions about payroll.
I have some more in there, but go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm looking for something else. Go ahead, I've got several questions.
Well, we wanna go through, court rental, 4532 on page 1, receipts. We used the 75, why would it be different than the
Well,
Where are you, Bob?
page 1 on estimated
Receipts.
Okay.
that, the main difference in that is I was anticipating the change with the janitorial staff, with them retiring a couple years. This year, we've actually gotten shorted on what they've paid us by about $50,000 because they overpaid us the year before because we lost, we reassigned Roy and lost another, we had another janitor down there to retire. So we reduced what I anticipated to receive from them. However, since you all approved that contract last court meeting, I've able to reevaluate that, and I'm gonna adjust that up to $220,000.
I mean, we redid Roy's, we reassigned Roy, but we also sent, special projects, I thought was.
I added 8%, yeah, I put 8% of their salary for each one of them. I don't really have, yeah, yes, I don't really have, anything to tell me that that's not adequate enough, but I hope that, Tracy's,
Yeah, I mean, there's with the janitorial service, Tracy's percentage is gonna go up too.
yeah, Tracy Watwood's.
That'll be a change.
I hope with that
We tried
oversight
to-
there that we'll be able to evaluate if that 8% is accurate or not.
I had the same question Bob did because of the $75,000 difference, but in 16, 17, it was $330,000. The budgeted, the next 275, then down actual received is 206, and why does that revenue?
They pay us, it's usually about this, it's usually in May that we approve an agreement with AOC. It'll be on the upcoming court meeting.
Why would that figure go down $75,000 ever?
Because our expenses have gone down there. We've had an employee retire the year before. We're looking at 2 retiring the end of this fiscal year.
Not to be replaced out there or something?
Well, we replaced them with a contract service.
This
So-
very recently, yeah. We
Yes,
just approved
yes.
that last meeting.
Yes, so I'm trying not to get ourselves in a position.
After we got this budget, we made that
Yes,
assumption.
yes,
After
that was
we
my,
received this.
that was my initial preparation. That had those employees on there as if they were not going to retire, because I didn't necessarily have all of their paperwork filed with retirement to know if they were gonna retire or not.
I mean, in a situation like that, that's based on the employee.
They pay you in advance. And when we reassigned Roy, I didn't know that was gonna happen, so I couldn't predict that. So now we're short because they already paid us for that fiscal year. When they went back and audited it, they paid us too much. So this fiscal year, they're taking that back. I think 220 is still a little bit conservative, but if we have something else change that we didn't predict, they're gonna do the same, they would do the same thing. So I'd rather be a little conservative than be,
The main thing, I was wanting to be sure we were getting,
yeah, yes,
recoup what we were
yes,
supposed to get off special projects.
yeah.
I don't know how much they do, I know they do what Roy was doing, or we have to get a
Yeah.
contractor in.
Yeah, I moved them, when we moved Roy, I moved them from 2% to 8%, trying to keep it kind of in the same salary realm as what Roy was.
If you save money in that area, you end up reducing what you're gonna get the next year. It's a year behind.
County Road aid, then on the next, on the page 3.
Mm-hmm,
Quite a reduction. What we think we'll be getting from the state.
mm-hmm. That's what, I usually take,
Reflect the 15%, the change that we got in from 20 to 15 over the road conditions.
no, that is, part of that state-funded paving projects there, that's 555. That's where, or I think that's what you're talking about. Wendy is really good at helping me understand which money's which, but those flex funds, there's like excess flex funds that weren't spent and that they were gonna allow us to spend, so I think they're in that 555 number, 555,000. But the road aid dollars, I usually budget 90% of what they tell me they're gonna be, because they're only gonna give us 90% this fiscal year. They settle up with us the next year in July or August, and I usually amend those in. So that gives us a little bit to amend in for a project that, or something that is not necessarily funded yet, but something on the back burner that we would like to be funded.
That covered my receipts.
As far as what we had originally talked about, as far as the road projects and stuff locally, that's all been budgeted for.
Actually, I think the overtime overall is the same. We just reallocated it. We reallocated it based on actual numbers, just to get
It's
it.
still there, it's just
Yeah.
rearranged to different places, yeah.
Satisfactory.
Yeah, it's still there. We just moved it to different areas of overtime.
While on, under the receipts on page 1 of 7, why is that there, the black out there on the delinquent taxes?
I had that number highlighted, that I needed to go back and review that. I felt like, that it was showing higher, that 51,107, it was showing higher than what I felt like it should be, and it was.
Well, it's highlighted, not blacked out.
Yes,
It's
I think,
black-
on
it's
my,
blacked
on
out
my
on
screen,
mine.
it was red, and I think on the way the color copy, or the black and white copy came out, it was blacked out. I did go back and review that. It was after the February 18th date, though, that's the date on there. That was just an error in posting on our part during my absence. I've corrected that, and it's back in line.
So it is not 51,000.
No.
That is inaccurate.
I can tell you what it is right now.
Looks like from here that number's 51.
07.
Yeah, that's what she said it is. I can clearly see what it says. I just assumed it was blacked out. I didn't know it was highlighted. And so apparently the same thing over on the next page where that's highlighted instead
Yes.
of blacked out.
Yes, those are notes for myself.
Those are highlighted, okay?
Yes, delinquent tax, it's not 51,000. Right now, even through May 7th, we get those payments monthly from the clerk, and we're at 19,847.71.
Well, I'm back to appropriations on page 4. And then you have your, I guess, the commissioner's travel expenses. That part of that administrative issue,
Yes, exception is, I know we talked about NACO, so there should be funding for your NACO. But yes.
like even for me, I mean, I travel also, I go to training as well, like whatever the judges conference or
Yes.
Yeah,
But you don't participate in the, yeah.
training friends.
Yeah. So you,
The county does pay my expenses.
correct.
yeah.
And that hasn't been affected because of that. And that's just, to be clear again, you don't participate in the fringe, training fringe program. And I know you and I had talked about the NACO conference and having monies budgeted for that, so it is budgeted.
Spoken with the jailer, and I guess that his budget, I mean, the heads of our departments and elected officials, I mean, I haven't, I guess, heard any major complaints, but I didn't know if it was, if they've all reviewed all this, and,
Yeah, we,
my biggest concern right now is, I guess I'm all the way down to page 10 if we want to get through, because you've got the, I think you were saying you had to leave, Judge.
yes.
Where are you, Bob?
I'm on page 10 of appropriations. in the
10 of 18, or,
budget of 18. And it's our grants to our service organizations in the county. Last year, I didn't really see a lot that didn't need the help and didn't deserve our help. And so I was just wondering how we were going to reduce that.
still don't see, 10 of 18. Oh, it's not, you're on the wrong thing.
Yeah, there's $100,000 put in there. When we went through the budget, we obviously sat down with all the departments, and the needs. We put those items first, and when we got down to leave a little bit of reserves in each department, 100,000 is what, we came up with to put in that line. I mean, if you look,
Who is budgeted for these 100,000?
I'm sorry,
Who's going to be the recipient of the 100,000?
we don't
I
know
need a
that.
breakdown on it.
We don't know that.
Are they-
It's a dollar amount what's budgeted.
Are they been coming, I hadn't found anyone yet, I guess, I'm not sure if they were being contacted, the others, or have the people being,
No, not right now.
Not yet, okay.
Well, the dollar amount for the budget, we tried to get a dollar amount in this line item. As far as contacting, we reached out to those agencies that we did award grants last year. As far as summaries of what the monies went for, and that way we can look at what actually they did with those dollars.
but I mean, I would be concerned if we get that information back, I would think that we were in a position where we could fund more than this amount if needed. But
Is this the
more
same
than
program that
100,000 if we
was
need to.
started last year with the
We
nonprofits?
put 100,000 in based off of the dollars. I mean, we've got meetings this week, ranging from school security. I mean, we tried to be as good stewards with these dollars, but obviously there are those priority issues we had to put in place. I know that we're this fiscal year, we had the maintenance building burn. We had the bridge that we're trying to do that we originally had for next year that would affect this budget. But then you get into that 65-35. So it's been a juggling act trying to get some of those projects done this year.
I just say, when these projects, any of these organizations have merit, I want us to strongly consider at least making sure that we can fund them at some level. And we just have to see what we'd like to, we need to keep up with what their needs are and
Yes.
look at it.
And we've got, I mean, we've sat down with experts in the field of nonprofits from Murray State. We've got a meeting again with them to where we can help educate some of these nonprofit organizations how to survive in today's world as a nonprofit. And two, there's been some discussions as far as the legalities of it. So, I mean, there's been a lot of discussions on the table that we're trying to tie into this.
What are
We went
the,
through, over the years, we went through significant changes in this particular, if you want to call it this program, really. And anyway, we got it to a point where, at least in my mind, that we key on organizations that serve a purpose for our communities. And instead of necessarily just a ball team or something going somewhere that just represents Marshall County in some way. And anyway, most of the ones that I think we went through last year have merit. So anyway, I want to be sure that we review them accordingly.
Well, if
Yes.
100,000
And
is all that's budgeted,
those experts that I was talking about, we plan to bring them to the fiscal court so that you can hear from them firsthand. As far as the merit, we looked at it as too, is that we felt that putting this grant application in was just the first step to get the dollars identified, as far as tax dollars identified for nonprofits. But as far as getting educated on it. The Murray State professors that we had talked to, I mean, that's been their whole life as nonprofits, and they've got some, well, pretty detailed, information that kind of helped us understand that we can actually even be better at doing this. If you look at the long term of this budget, we have really got to look at the long-term effect of what the dollars are going to be. For an example, if you look at the pension, the 12% max, we put 12% in before the state told us it was going to be 12% because we anticipated the worst. If we continue at that rate, in about 4 years, we will reach the projected about $800,000 that's going to hit this budget. And so we've got to do our due diligence to try to help some of these nonprofits survive, because that's what it's coming down to. And there are some out there. I mean, we've already heard back. Who'd you hear back from, Brad?
Heard back from the Exceptional Center, yeah, Hope Clinic and the Ramp Ministry. Yeah,
Yeah, I think Marcellus is another
yes.
one.
So
Yeah.
four of the agencies.
And some of these nonprofits, or some of these organizations, they've already been getting the training, and you can see it in their presentation. And so we've got some good feedback. But now there's several that have participated. We haven't got anything back from them.
And that letter was dated May the 2nd?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Well,
You pull it
I
up?
can tell you.
To the
pull it
senior
up.
citizens, it was
Yeah,
May 2nd.
The
You pull
letter
it.
that you sent
Pull
out
it
was dated May the 2nd, the one that I, of the two that I'm familiar with, so they didn't receive it till probably, May the 4th, and like I say, I no disrespect to the experts at Murray State University, but when I see, as Bob said, $222,000 that they all presented because of the new program, the nonprofits that this administration put into place last time, each of those entities came before us, and we decided they had to sell us on their needs and so forth. And I agree with Bob that we didn't fund every one of those different projects, but when we talk about the Veteran Support Group, Haven of Hope, Hoop Fest, Marcellus Kitchen, the Senior Citizens, Marshall County Need Line, the Ramp Ministries, the Hardin Senior Citizens, that totaled $22,301, I think it was, and the judge's budget is proposing to cut $122,301 out of that when alone. So what you're doing is, if this stays in place and it's passed as is, senior citizens, we subsidize them the Benton senior citizens, $92,500, the Hardin senior citizens, $37,750. That $100, so you're just shutting down the Senior Citizen Center with that approach. And their funds have been cut the years that I've been here. It was $122,000, and now it's $92,500. And the federal monies have been cut in half. So in essence, if this budget passes and the experts at Murray State, like I say, no disrespect to them, but I don't need, from sitting in my seat and casting my vote, I do not need any advice from the experts at Murray State University who are yet to be identified, that you're going to tell me that I'm going to sit here and cut senior citizens. That $100,000 won't even let the senior citizens in Hardin and Benton survive, much less Hope Clinic, the Hoop Fest, Marcellus Kitchen, Marshall County Need Line.
Let's be clear.
I'm being as perfectly clear as I can be.
Yeah, the experts are going to come talk to you. Okay, that's their profession. They've been doing it for years, and they're pretty good at it. They know it a lot more than we do. These are tax dollars, and the budget, like I just explained to you, we went through this budget. We had $100,000 that we could put in that line. And the way that it needs to be explained is some of those organizations have already responded back. Can you answer today the dollars that have been taxpayers' money that has gone to these nonprofits, regardless of who they are? Can you answer today what those dollars went to? Did they actually meet their objective? You know, if they filled out that application that they were going to do X, Y, and Z, do you know today that those dollars went to X, Y, and Z?
I mean,
And the answer is
I don't have
no.
a problem with having that review. I guess my issue right now is have we asked for that information from all of them? Because the Hardin Senior Citizens, they're saying they haven't been contacted.
Do you get when that was sent out?
Prepared,
those monies go to
hang
you,
on, hang
Bob,
on.
and Bob
We sent
and
all of
and
them.
Randall, don't they?
Yeah, we sent all of them, May 2nd, so,
So-
to all.
Here
Right.
you've got a
And-
board, you've got a
and-
board member that money goes to sitting right there, and he didn't get it.
Well, and here's,
Really more, but the board has told me that they haven't received a request.
I can see
They have
that.
their information ready.
okay.
That's fine.
What was the
And-
date that went out, May 2nd dated?
Yeah, you told me it was May 2nd.
I just asked that question, I didn't see that, I just asked two
You
entities.
said you saw them,
That May 2nd was my understanding.
right? Because you said you
It
had,
was, the
you
letter
had
was
seen the
dated
letters.
May 2nd.
You got the letter?
Yeah, I don't know if I do.
Here's the thing, those agencies that if they say they haven't met, because we're not going to go through this again like last year. If they haven't received it, no one has contacted my office. So if you know that they haven't received it, then somebody needs to be contacting the office. But here's the thing, we've got time to get this done. The first step is to get budgeted dollars. And then the next step is to get the individuals from those organizations together so that they can see what the process is going to be. Those individuals that I talked about earlier, they're going to come to the fiscal court and they're going to address you. They're going to explain to you what.
So we're gonna go through the same process as we did last year.
No,
These are
if
gonna
you'd
present-
listen, those individuals, so that you can meet them, will come and tell you, as far as the nonprofit world, that you'll find out that in their terms, what we're doing is archaic. We have to, if we know that there's going to be some shortfalls in the future with this pension, and how it's going to affect our budget, it's our responsibility to make sure that we help these nonprofits survive in today's world. There are nonprofits out there that are getting the training that these gentlemen have expressed, and they're succeeding, they're surviving. There are other nonprofits out there, let me finish, there are other nonprofits out there that are not, okay? If we're gonna continue just to hand out money and not help these organizations get better or survive, I think that it is our responsibility, because we are dealing with taxpayers' money. So that's the goal, but for right now, yes, $100,000 is what we found to put into this budget.
Who's we?
The Budget Committee.
Okay, Emily, you wanna respond to that?
With in regards to the $100,000 being
Are you for
budgeted?
cutting the senior citizens in Hardin and Benton, Hoop Fest?
Well, I don't have a vote.
We,
That's
that's such, that
That's in
is
essence
not,
what you're doing.
no. The essence of what you're
Yes,
doing
yes. That's in
is
essence what
you're
you're
making
doing.
statements that has nothing to do with cutting anybody. These are budgeted dollars that have been put into a budget. There hasn't even been a presentation for nonprofits. How do you even know?
And there should be a presentation.
How do you even know that these nonprofits you're talking about are going to apply again? We
Why
don't
would
know.
they not?
Well, we don't.
That's their survival.
But-
That's been last year. You had a program that you started, the administration, the first time we'd ever done that, and all the nonprofits presented their cases, made their points, and sold this body, and we voted to give. We didn't include them all, but it was $222,000, and they sold us. They don't have the opportunity to do this time. At the last minute, you know, these experts from Murray State, that's not going to be much a saving grace for these entities right here when they learn in the next month or so, by July 1st, that you've cut this thing $100,000 and you've taken $122,301 out of there, and they have to close their doors to senior citizens in Marshall County. That money's, you know, somebody's gonna, you're just, these so-called experts, like I say, I don't need a so-called expert to tell me. I know what I'm gonna do in this situation. I am not gonna tell the senior citizens in the Marshall County Need Line and the Veterans Veterans Support Group and Wheelchair, the Ramp Ministry and the WAC Pack and the hardened senior citizens that they're gonna shut their doors. I don't need any experts at Murray State to tell me that in a month and listen to them.
I don't think we fully fund any of these. I understand that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, we
We're just
don't.
supporting them, and they are supporting our community. I do.
Well, if you listen to what Rick just said, they wouldn't survive.
They wouldn't survive without this. I'm talking about the senior citizens wouldn't survive. It's not their whole budget, but the legality of that, and you're studying the legality of these experts. Our county attorney told us the key denominator is if it serves a public purpose. And in my eyes, and I have one of 4 votes, in my eyes, these organizations serve a public purpose to the taxpayers of this and voters of this community.
Well,
And that's who I represent, and that's what they want to see.
Well, let's be fair about this. We're
Let's be fair.
responsible for the tax dollars that we get. We are trying to put something in place because there are some nonprofits, just like what you just said, Bob, senior citizens probably wouldn't succeed. It's not the fiscal court's doing. If there's a reason why they wouldn't succeed, then we need to identify that and help them. Throwing money at these nonprofits, what happens when the county?
I don't think
Okay,
we're throwing money at them.
Let me explain this. What happens
Okay.
if the county were to have, because we subsidize the general fund with the occupational tax, what happens if we have a plant shut down? And are you going to sacrifice
What if
to
it
where
all
we
day
take these?
long?
Well, that's,
Scenarios out there.
but the point is
not
that
even
they are
addressing the
fully dependent on these dollars. To me, I'd rather get to the root of the problem. If they're fully dependent on these dollars, we need to help educate them, and that's where the Murray State professors come in. They've got years of experience of coming in and helping these organizations survive, and they've done it with nonprofits in our community.
Have any problem at all with getting any expertise. I just wanted to make at least my position known that if they need this help, I don't believe any of the ones we funded, excuse me, last year do not have merit.
Well, nobody's saying that they don't have merit.
So if there's a way to fund them differently, that's fine, well and good. If the county doesn't need to put as much in, but I just want to be sure that everybody understands that these organizations do serve a purpose. I think
And that
we've them down to that.
Yeah, and that hasn't been in question because not all these organizations are in the same situation as some of the others. Some of them are very successful. But with these dollars, you've seen this budget, you obviously identify a problem, potential problem. What solution do you bring? Any solution?
Marcella's Kitchen is very important, should be, to this fiscal court. The Boys and Girls Ranch,
No,
senior citizens.
We've already gone through that. What solution do y'all have? Any
In
solution?
my eyes, it's not to get, and no disrespect to the so-called experts who I don't know, and I don't even know if they're experts, but I don't need somebody from Murray, Kentucky, that's a college professor, that's a so-called expert to tell me my feelings about these organizations and the purpose that they serve, and we spend those tax dollars. And according to legal counsel, when you presented this program last time, you had called each one of these, and they sat right over there at that table and sold this body on the need for that. And I don't know where that need's gone in a 12-month period. It still serves the public purpose, each and every one of
They
these.
can be helped, I mean, certainly, I'm not gonna disagree with, if they can be helped to help themselves, that's fine. They do that now, most of them do.
Are you sure about that?
Well, most of them do.
Well, you've named off, there's been a big list named off. The thing is, gentlemen, is that I'm presenting a solution for these organizations. I'm not going to sit back and just hand out money, taxpayers' money, and not be able to overlook.
You
No,
did
listen
last
to me.
year.
Listen to me. That was the start. This was the start. It's not going to happen overnight. This is a long road to help these organizations.
Well, let's work this in and don't cripple them. Don't tell them a month from now on July 1st that, sorry, you're out. What are
Nobody
they gonna
said
do then?
that.
They're gonna get,
Nobody has said that.
If you put $100,000
No.
in there, you said that to
Listen,
them.
you're looking at the
Period.
dollar. You're looking at the dollar. We're not going to continue going down the road, putting dollars on the table. If there's organizations out there that need to learn how to better themselves at surviving, that's what they need. I'm willing to bring those individuals to the table. They're there. Just sitting down with them, Marcella's Kitchen, for an example, they've actually gone through this training. And when you talk to those individuals that are involved, they have come a long way, and they are surviving in today's times. Some of these other organizations, I'm prepared to bring individuals who know more about it than we do to help them better their organizations. Putting monies on the table, looking at a dollar amount, that's not going to get it. Some of these organizations are going to die if we don't look at the root of the problem.
I have no problem like
And
Bob looking
today-
at the root of the problem, but it's not going to cure itself.
You don't have a solution, Rick. That's the
certainly do.
problem. I'm bringing a solution, and you're going to get it's going to be presented to you as a fiscal court so that you can see, yes, these guys that are in the profession can speak about this a lot better than we can and help these organizations in our communities because they're doing it in other communities.
Why was that process started 12 months ago instead of a month before budget? That's the timing is not very good.
I'm sure that's right.
You need to get over that Bonnie and whack Pat, make sure she's the bitch.
She's been told to. She has, yeah. I spoke with her.
Do what?
It's a process. I mean, the first thing that we did last year as a fiscal court is actually identify that when you looked at our budget, we were paying for things for nonprofits that we had no idea what the total dollars were. There was nobody coming forward and requesting these dollars. It's a process. This was the first step in getting that grant application process on the table. And it's going to continue to be a process because the reality is that some of these organizations do need help. But I think that they need more help, not just the fiscal court providing them.
No, I don't have any problem with you getting help either, if you can help them
Well,
do
apparently
that,
you do. You don't even want to talk to the experts.
I didn't say any disrespect. There's no, but my problem is with the timing. July 1st, if you smack $100 in there instead of what was in there last year, and those people sold this body, including you.
Well, I tell you what, Rick, I'll put it out there. If you have a better solution, I'm all ears.
The timing is horrible.
If you got a better solution.
In a month, you can't tell these people you're going to cut their funds after they sold you 12 months ago. If you want to educate them, you're going to educate them in a week to turn this thing around. There's no miracle easy button to push in this situation. The timing is not a month before the budget has to be put to bed. If you're going to educate and so concerned about getting the experts in, just do it a year ago. This stuff takes time. They're not going to push an easy button, and it's not like turning on a light switch.
I think personally, and I don't have a vote in this, but I think part of the problem is their outlook towards it. We have no obligation to give them anything. But they feel like that is theirs every year, that it should be there for them. And if it's not, they're in panic mode and not gonna be able to survive. I think the grant, calling it a grant, making it deserved or worthwhile is part of the process that keeps them bettering themselves, to make them work for themselves. If they know that this money is not necessarily a guarantee, they've got to figure out how to keep themselves alive.
And the experts, you commented that you didn't need the experts to
I
tell you how
personally
to
don't
spend
need
this
the
money. Well, let me finish. The purpose of the experts is to offer help to the organizations.
And
The
that's
experts
fine-
aren't
that's
here to
fine with
help
me.
you
I have
decide
no-
anything.
I have no
They're here
problem.
to help with the organizations, help the organizations find funding elsewhere.
If
Thrive.
there are those experts exist, I have no problem whatsoever with that happening. My problem, again, is with the timing and taking out in the budget that the judge and the committee presented to this body. The first we saw of it was May 1st, and $222,301 is dropped to $100,000. You better damn sure educate them and make it the thing in place by July 1st, or what are they going to do? You propose to close them down? They cannot learn this. This thing should have
But
been
that's not our
enacted
fault.
12 months ago.
As a taxpayer, I'm more concerned with covering the county's budget than covering nonprofit organizations. I'm
A lot of
all
these-
for giving them money.
A lot of these
but-
places plan their budget around what
But
we
we can
did
do
for them
both.
last year.
But that's,
And
That's not a
That's,
guarantee.
it's not. And here's the thing, again, solutions. I don't want to hear about the complaints because we hear it all day. Solutions. Bring a solution to the table. You've had this since May 1st. Not one solution.
We
Get a
were-
solution,
we were told
bring
and
it to me.
clarified by the deputy judge executive in an email to
Get a
study the budget,
solution.
bring it back, and each one of us received that email
Yes.
to clarify your statement. We were going to
Get
have one
a
budget
solution
workshop
and bring it to
as opposed
me.
to 9 like we did
It's that
all-day
simple.
workshops last year. I mean, the committee meets, how long would you say this committee met and worked on this budget?
The budget committee?
Mm-hmm.
We've met several times.
Several times, several months.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, not months, several days.
Okay, you met several days. Estimate how many days you spent, how many hours you spent on the budget, Emily, Jeff, Brenda, Brad. You all were involved in the process.
Why does it matter?
Okay, and
Several.
and so
boy,
you
having
call
to
the
recreate the wheel.
you have the department heads come in and talk to this committee, and that takes several hours to do so. You hear their wants and needs and so forth, and this committee picks those wants and needs out, and that's what you bring back to the 3 of the other 4 people that have a vote to whether to approve this budget or not. Last year, we went through the process, and every year I've been here, the department heads have come in one at a time and sometimes multiple times to speak to all 4 people that have a vote, not just one person in a committee where it's watered down what gets brought back to us. That is not the way we need to be educated from those department heads so we can make an informed, educated decision.
If you look, Rick, the committee that you're talking about, you voted for, okay? So you voted to put this committee in place. Now you're going to bite the hand that you put in place. We have sat down. Last year we did 3 days, 8 hours a day almost, and we went through line by line just
Last
to
year?
see
Last year's
the
budget?
last budget. Yes, just to
We had
see
6 all-day budget
Listen,
workshops
just
scheduled,
to
built around
see
3 regularly scheduled
it
meetings.
change, and in some cases, you saying that it wasn't discussed when it actually was. The point is that you got a committee that has been put in place that you approved The committee has sat down with everybody. Today, you've had this since May 1st. You've had it to review it. This is nothing that is out of the ordinary or different than what has been as far as a budget document. I've been here 3 years, and this budget document is pretty much the same.
Process
And
hadn't
when
been
we
the
go
same.
through each line, you can review it. And you come today, we meet today, we've gone through the receipts, appropriations, payroll.
We're not even halfway through the first thing as far as I'm concerned, nor have we met with these individuals or these nonprofits, nor have we met with the department heads.
I'm not going to argue with you because apparently.
I'm not gonna argue with you,
The
but-
ordinance that you voted for, you don't understand. That's clear. The budget committee sits with those department heads.
That's good, but what happened last year and the year before and the year before that?
Same thing. Last year, the budget committee sat with all the department heads.
We had each department head.
We did
we
too,
not,
though.
Commissioners?
Yes.
Commissioner Gold, did we not
Yes.
meet with all the department heads?
Yes.
Some of them multiple
Yes.
times? Did we not
we
meet with
did.
all these nonprofits and they sell this body on those dollar figures where we were comfortable?
We did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not going to have one person sits in that's got one of the four votes to approve this budget. I am not going to feel comfortable taking. You have the opportunity to educate yourself and hear from the department heads. I want that same opportunity. I have talked to some of them, and what's been said here doesn't necessarily jive
let me
with
ask you
what
this.
I've heard.
Did you ever
But
come
we
by
need
my
the
office?
same opportunity.
Has any phone calls come by my office about this budget since May 1st?
You're not very good communicator with this body, to be perfectly honest with you.
I'm just
There's been no
telling you.
communication for
Okay.
the last year and a half with this body, with the mayors of these cities, with your three commissioners, and the list
I've
can
got
go
to
on and on.
gotta go.
Communication is a two-way street, Judge.
Well, for somebody that states that the budget is a priority, my door is open. And when I presented this budget May 1st, you can go back and review it. I asked you guys to come see me if you had any questions, concerns, and I can't help that didn't happen.
I have a lot of questions I want to talk to the department heads about.
Go ahead. I mean, they're available. Some of them.
It's a waste of their time to have to sit down with him and him and him and you when they can do that all in one whack.
They sat down with the budget committee. That's what you approved. I can't help that you approved something that you don't like. I can't help
You
it.
keep saying that I approve that. The budget draft by law, the judge has to give us a first draft of the budget by May 1st every year. I don't care what the process is there. That's your responsibility to present that starting point and that draft of that budget.
You got the budget committee.
But
Yeah.
these three
Hang on.
gentlemen
No.
on this side of the
Now, we're gonna read
table
what-
have to
what-
vote for that.
We're going to read what the fiscal court put in place.
Are you reading from the administrative code?
This is what you voted on. This is an ordinance.
A 91-page ordinance that we voted on, that we changed
Can
constantly.
you read that?
Yeah, sure.
That's
Section
the way we've
4.1,
done
budget
business in the
preparation
last 3
procedure.
years.
The annual budget preparation process shall be administered by a budget committee consisting of the county treasurer, deputy judge executive, and/or county administrator and county attorney working with the county judge. By April 1st of each fiscal year, the county judge shall obtain budget proposals prepared by each county department of agency receiving funds from the fiscal court. C, the county judge shall prepare a report of anticipated revenue from general fund taxes and intergovernmental transfers from city, state, and federal government. D, the county judge shall review the expenditures in each classification of each fund for the preceding year and for the current fiscal year. E, county judge may obtain from the county treasurer's receipts for actual expenditures made during the current fiscal year. F, an estimate shall be made of expenditures for the remainder of the current fiscal year, any surplus by fund which will remain. And G, the county judge shall submit the completed proposed budget to the fiscal court for initial review no later than May 1st of each fiscal year, with the exception of the jail fund budget, which shall be submitted by April 1st.
And just so everybody knows, we did that.
Okay, you did that in that process.
Gentlemen,
and I have
it's
no problem with
2:30.
that
I've got
process
to,
right there.
I've got to go.
After,
If you got any other
That's-
questions, call me. See me.
when do you propose to discuss this budget further? I have gotten questions that I would like to, my fellow commissioners, but because of the law and the open meeting and illegal meetings, we cannot sit down together. And in this forum, I've got some other questions that I'd like to ask with my fellow commissioners present.
Yeah.
And by open records, we cannot do that because of the law. We'll have a quorum.
The ordinance, again, that you've put in place, the Budget Committee has sat down with everybody. If you've got concerns, get them to my office, and we'll take a look at them.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about meeting in this forum so I can discuss with my fellow commissioners. We can discuss that.
If it's
All
educational,
four people that vote,
educational purposes, you can discuss it.
not as a group. Well, obviously, we're going to vote on the budget, so we can't do
Discuss
that.
it then. We're gonna vote on it.
When are we going to meet again as far as discuss this? I'm not talking about, I'm talking about as a group.
When's the next budget
Does
meeting?
anybody, are you ready to vote on the budget, Bob? Are you comfortable?
What-
Are you
what-
comfortable, Johnny?
Yeah.
The budget, we've already said the budget
I'm not
is still
comfortable, so
got,
you got 3 of the 4 people that vote are not comfortable at this point of approving this budget.
and
So what do? We sit down here, by law, do we not have to have the budget approved by July 1st?
yes,
What are
Yeah,
we gonna
budget.
do, stumble through and wait? You
Yes.
just heard Commissioner Gold, Commissioner Bowl, and myself do not agree with this budget.
what, we just sat
So
down.
that-
What parts of the budget do you not agree with?
Holy mackerel.
I would recommend that we probably need to put off approval until
Because we do
One of the
have,
very-
Yes.
You
One of
just
the
heard
very
these 3
last
people are not gonna approve this budget.
days in June. Because of that, I want to make sure my carryover is as
Oh, that's,
close,
that's fine.
as
Commissioner
close
Gold's not
as
gonna
it
be
can
here,
be
and I
because of
think
the
he needs to be
65-35 rule.
But we,
yes.
I'll be back for the next court meeting.
okay.
For the next court meeting, if we need to set up
Yeah.
workshops or.
I mean, next time, bring your issues.
I've got my issues here. We're not even halfway through, and we hadn't even scraped the surface.
Well,
Well,
it's
we
not,
spend we have 6 budget workshops last year, surrounded by 3 regular scheduled meetings. So we meet in the last 2, granted, we're about half a day, so 7 full-day budget workshops and 2 half-day workshops. One of them lasted 10 hours and 20 minutes, and you're proposing to have, we've been here an hour and a half on this baby. That's really doing your due diligence to.
the ordinance that you put in place.
I have no
the-
problem with that part
the-
of it. We're at the second step.
The-
That's
there's-
just bring the
As an-
budget
As an
draft.
example, as an example, we have that in place. I understand that. That's correct. We received this on May 1st, and we've been reviewing it. That's correct. The letters went out to the nonprofits on May 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
So your number that's in here reflects nothing to do with the information they gave you back.
Right,
Understand?
right. We haven't received anything. That's
part
right.
of- That's
From
That's
what
right.
you've asked them, you
Because-
part
can't
of
do
this
that.
concern here. That's not been, nothing that they've done, their information isn't reflected here at all. It's just a number you've come up with that happens to fit the budget.
Right.
Yes,
The
that's
budget,
correct.
yes, that's all it is it's a number for the
So we
budget.
understand that, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the process, there's things that have got to take place, before we do the next, reading of the budget.
Okay.
I mean, this is just to get a dollar amount, in that budget. All right,